It is time now for the Rural Intelligence Report with Mark Williams. One stop to go to find out what's going on in and around our region, and a great chronological calendar of coming events that is always very easy to find. Mark, good to speak to you today.
Good morning, Marshall. And I think this week is going to be Music Week. You'll see, obviously I've tried to sprinkle in lots of other events as well. But, oh my gosh, we have so many musical events that are really wide spectrum, classical, rock, pop, folk, whatever. So it's going to be, if you like music, then this is your week.
All right. Well, we will start off in Hyde Park, New York, a space-themed celebration with author Douglas Brinkley.
Yep. Now, if you've never been to the Culinary Institute of America, and I can understand why people sort of drive past and say, oh, my gosh, it's a bit forbidding. It's up on the hill. It's a big campus and whatever it is. If you haven't been, you really need to think about going, because they have 3, maybe even 4 absolutely fantastic restaurants which serve world-class food at very reasonable prices. Now, the problem with that is that often you do have to make a reservation in advance. But on Thursday, this coming Thursday, the 27th, the Culinary Institute of America is having what they're calling a space-themed celebration evening with the author Douglas Brinkley. And it sounds so much fun. So it starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it starts off with Douglas Brinkley, who's the author of American Moonshot, John F. Kennedy and the Great Space Race. He's going to be discussing his book. It's then followed by a big reception with photo opportunities and cocktails, and they're talking about all sorts of, they're saying they're spaced out nibbles to enjoy in the cocktail hour. And then the guests will all go into a big dinner, which they're calling the New Food Frontier, and it's all with an astronaut-inspired dinner. So it really sounds great fun, sort of an opportunity for these young chefs to really experiment, and so we'll see what happens on that dinner. And then, after the dinner, you return to the theater for a screening of Apollo 11, which is this new documentary that chronicles, I guess, the 1969 manned moon mission. It sounds absolutely fascinating. It sounds a really, actually fun evening. And it's fun because it sounds, you learn. I suspect you're going to learn a lot. But on top of that, I suspect the food will be just really out of this world, if that's the right phrase. Now, I will tell you one thing. These sort of events do sell out very quickly indeed, because people locally really know what great value they are. So if this type of thing interests you, do get onto their website and sign up as soon as possible if you want to attend. It sounds absolutely fabulous. It's this Thursday, June the 27th, and it starts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and will run for a little while one way and another. But it will be a full, wonderful evening of entertainment.
Let us move on to some more great entertainment. The Boston Pops in Lenox, Massachusetts on the 27th.
Yeah, well, I told you it was a music-themed week, and it kicks off again on Thursday at Tanglewood. And, they start before the formal, more classic music starts. They have a lot of pop music concerts and whatever it is. And the Boston Pops are getting together with Mark Martell to celebrate Queen. And Mark Martell is really known for his striking sort of vocal resemblance to Freddie Mercury of Queen, the lead singer of Queen. And he's been around for a long time, by the way. He's been fronting the Queen's official tribute show, which is called the Queen Extravaganza, since 2010, 2011. He's also been touring all around the world with the tribute show called the Ultimate Queen Collection Celebration. And he's also got an orchestral show called Symphonic Queen. So, and on top of that, by the way, he was in the biopic, Bohemian Rhapsody, along with Freddie Mercury and Rami Malek. So he's really involved with this, and he's got together with the Boston Pops Orchestra for a tribute show, which sounds like it's going to be absolutely great fun. It's in the Kusevitsky Music Shed. James Burton is conducting the Tanglewood Festival Chorus, and the Boston Symphony Orchestra is obviously going to be there. So it's going to be a really fun evening. And I was sitting here thinking about this. The number of top hits that Queen has done is just, Bohemian Rhapsody, We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions, Don't Stop Me Now, another one, Bites the Dust. They are absolutely legend. Again, it's on Thursday evening, the 27th. It's at Tanglewood. I'm sure there will be seats on the lawn if the weather's good. It starts at 8 o'clock. And you may find there are a few seats in the shed if you're worried about the weather as well. It just sounds like a great, fun evening.
Well, we'll go from space and from Queen with the Boston Pops, and we honor the loss that Sweden had against the United States in the World Cup with the Swedish Folk Quintet concert in Sheffield on the 27th.
Yeah, rotten devil there. Yeah, no. So... this is slightly at the other end of the spectrum from Queen, if I can say that. We've talked about Sheffield, and they have this little venue. It is a little venue, but it's a wonderful venue called Dewey Hall. And on Thursday evening, they are welcoming a Swedish folk quintet called Jövra. I think it's that way you pronounce it. This is much more low-key, but it will be really fun because they're an award-winning Swedish band. They have been to Dewey Hall before, so a lot of people will know them. But they have like an extroverted, vigorous, heartfelt folk music influenced style. They have a little bit of jazz in there. So there's some aspects of the pop world, but it's really lovely. And anyway, they're going to be there. They are touring at the moment because they put out an album a few months ago called Under Den Linnen. So if you enjoy folk music and fun, it will be dance music as well. Do go to Dewey Hall in Sheffield on Thursday, June the 27th, and it will start around 7:30 in the evening. It will be a fun evening.
We'll go a little further north than Dewey Hall on the 28th, and we'll go to Mass Mocha, the Solid Sound Festival 2019.
Yeah. Well, if you are trying to beat Queen, as it were, as being a massive musical experience, well, the way you do it is you go to Mass Mocha, and they are having as you say, the Solid Sound Festival. It starts on Friday, June the 28th, and it runs through Sunday the 30th. So you've got 3 days. They always say 3 days and 4 stages. And it is jammed with musical events. But it's not just musical events as well. They have all sorts of other things. So let's just talk about the music for a starter. Well, first of all, Wilco, who are really the core or keystone for the Solid Sound Festival, are going to be there. But there's going to be a whole series of other musical performers. The Feelies, Courtney Barrett, Jonathan Richmond, Tortoise, and Lonnie Holly. So you've got a big musical lineup, but then they've got a full comedy lineup as well for those people that are interested. There's an immense number of things for the family to do, so younger kids can get involved and enjoy themselves. There's going to be local, obviously there are going to be all the food trucks and local food. There's going to be craft beer, as you would expect. If you are going to come from far and wide and stay overnight, there's going to be camping available. They've got all sorts of other activities which are on the periphery, as it were, but it's a massive campus, as you know, and so there's so much you can do. You will have to check out the website to get all the details and find out which tickets you're going to buy for which days, because it really is jam-packed. And by the way, and remember, these concerts are going to be held whether it's raining or massive sunshine, really hot sunshine. So dress appropriately one way and another. So as I say, it starts on June the 28th, runs through Sunday, June the 30th. It's all at Mass Mocha. So check out their website for full details. And you can get there via Rural Intelligence if you have a chance.
Don't bring your calorie counter, but June 28th, it's back in Sharon. It's always a successful fundraiser. Let them eat cake, the live cake auction and cocktail party.
This is a really great. It's a brilliant idea for a fundraiser, isn't it? So you sit around and you You have hors d'oeuvres and drinks, and there's an open bar very sensibly, because if you're bidding, they want you to have had a few drinks, whatever it is. And the whole idea about the live cake auction is that you bid on cakes designed and baked and donated by your friends and neighbors in and around the Sharon area who are supporting the Sharon Historical Society and the museum. So it's wonderful. And you talked a bit about it, but some of these auctions are really develop into bidding wars, and they're laugh out loud events where people are sort of making comments. There's a lot of friendly goading from the sidelines about bidding more, and because you're not bidding enormous amounts of thousands and thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on things, people really relax and enjoy themselves, and they go home with really having made a wonderful contribution to the Sharon Historical Society and Museum and not spent too much money one way and another. So it's really great fun. So if you're in the Sharon area on Friday evening at 5:30 and you want to support the Sharon Historical Society and Museum, then this is a great way of going. And, of course, you get all the details on their website.
We moved to Pittsfield, Massachusetts on the 28th, the Food for Thought dinner.
Well, I looked at this and I just had to laugh because Hancock Shaker Village has this series of Food for Thought dinners where they ask an author to come and talk about the book, and then they have a dinner, and it's a lovely, relaxing evening, and you get to see the Shaker Village and enjoy the whole thing. And this week they've invited Mitch Horowitz. And he is going to be talking about his new book, which is called Occult America, which is a very different look at American history and religion than, I guess, the people who prayed and practiced and lived in the Hancock Shaker Village. And I'm not sure whether Mother Ann Lee would be revolving in a grave. I think she might well be, but one way and another, to talk about occult America. But it just sounded like a great fun idea. Anyway, it's the Hancock Shaker Village in Pittsfield on Friday, June the 28th. It's 6 o'clock in the evening, and you will need to sort of make a reservation in advance.
Staged, Ancram, New York. Oh, an evening with Stu and Heidi.
Yeah, we talk about Ancram from time to time, but we don't talk about the Ancram Opera House, which is hosting over 2 days, Friday the 28th, and then also there's a repeat on Saturday the 29th. Stu and Heidi, and they are doing what they're calling staged dives. It's a musical world premiere, which later this year, by the way, is going to move. Later this summer, actually, is going to move to Joe's Pub at the Public in New York City. It's been created by Stu and Heidi Rodewald, and what they did was, a few years ago they wrote an acclaimed musical, which was a real success. It was called Passing Strange, and what they're going to do at the Ancram Opera House is a much more intimate version, and they're going to be singing these sort of songs, but really appropriate for the opera house. It's going to be also an opportunity for them to chat to the audience about how they arrived, where they've come from. They started in the dive bars of LA, and now, obviously, as I say, they're going to go to the sort of bright lights, as it were, of Broadway. So it's a lovely evening. It's great to talk about the Ancram Opera House and seeing it being used so amusingly. It's on both Friday, June the 28th, and Saturday, June the 29th at 8:30 in the evening.
How about a firefly hike and campfire at Sheep Hill on the 28th?
Yeah, I must say, one of the most magical sights living in our area and going for walks in the early evening at this time of year is that meadow that's full of fireflies. It is absolutely magical. And the opportunity to show it to kids, grandchildren, whatever it is just absolutely wonderful. And up in Williamstown at Sheep Hill at 8 o'clock in the evening on Friday, June the 28th, They're having a firefly hike and a campfire as well at Sheep Hill. So this is the Williamstown Rural Lounge Foundation that's organizing it. And this is really perfect for all ages, because what they're starting with is a campfire. Around the campfire, they're going to be a storyteller telling folk tales. And then they're going to have a question and an answer session talking about fireflies and how they come into the meadows and their background and whatever it is and their importance. And then once dusk has come, you get to, by the way, roast some marshmallows over the campfire as well to make some s'mores. And then they head out into the meadows to see the lightning bugs or the fireflies or whatever you want to call them. So it's a lovely, magical evening. It sounds absolutely super. It's at 8 o'clock in the evening up at Sheep Hill in Williamstown on Friday the 28th.
Let's kick it up a notch at Tanglewood's Music Shed on June 28th. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah, well, Marshall, you caught me out here because I have tickets. My wife and I will be going to Tanglewood on Friday night, and we're really looking forward to this concert from Earth, Wind and Fire. But they've been to Tanglewood before, by the way, but they're bringing the U.S. tour. They're on the tour again, and they're bringing it to the Shed. And I was counting up. They have been in business, as it were, for 50 years. They've had 8 number one hits. They've sold over 100 million albums worldwide. They've had 23 albums, 8 of which went double platinum and hit the top 10 as a result, and whatever it is. It makes them, I guess, one of the most best-selling artists of all time. They've won 9 Grammy Awards, including one for Lifetime Achievement. So really, you don't have to say much more than that it will be a great sing-along night, I suspect, at Tanglewood on Friday, June the 28th. And we will be going. It starts at 7 o'clock in the evening, and sounds just like a fantastic, fun evening there.
Let's move on to New Preston, Connecticut on the 29th.
Yeah, we're always looking at ways of supporting local shops, and particularly if those local shops are doing sort of what I'd say good works. And Privet in New Preston has this little store next door called Privet Lives, and they are hosting something called the Maasai Collections, and it's really interesting. They've been there before. It's a curated selection of sustainable and ethically sourced goods from Africa and beyond. It was started by Elizabeth Warner, she herself is a bit of a modern nomad one way and another, because she has been traveling around Africa and Asia and whatever it is, and she's been putting this collection of goods together, really chic designs and clothes and whatever it is. A lot of it's one of a kind, and mostly it's been through a collaboration she has with Maasai women in Africa. So it's really unusual. It's a good way to support local crafts around the world, and because it's ethically and it's sustainable, it also adds to the enchantment of the whole thing. So it starts on Saturday, June the 29th, by the way, but the store will be open through September the 2nd. So if you don't get there on the 29th and you're in New Preston, do pop in to Privet Lives all the way through September the 2nd.
This next announcement has a word in it that is one of my top 10 words in the English language. It is June 29th in Richmond, Massachusetts, the Balderdash Cellars Grand Opening. I love the word Balderdash. It's the definite top 10.
Well, I constantly use it personally, but no, it's wonderful. So there's a big story behind this, actually. This is a wonderful opportunity to help a new winery celebrate its new location and new building with a day of food, wine. There's obviously wine. They will also have some beer. There's going to be some live music and various things going on. And the story behind this is absolutely amazing. So the background is that Christian and Donna Hansen founded Balderdash Cellars in 2011. Really, originally, it was a hobby. And what's unusual is that they set up their winery in the basement of a commercial building on East Street in Pittsfield. Not exactly the typical location for a winery. But what happened was they made wine there. They brought in the grapes. They made wine there. And the business began to grow and visitors increased. And on Saturday mornings or weekends, they used to have wine tastings. And because they were so popular, and the wines are really good, we can talk about that later, but the wines are really lovely. They found that people would come and visit, and there would be so many people that it would sort of spill over into the parking lot on East Street in Pittsfield, which is not exactly where you expect. Anyway, because it was so successful, they found a location in Richmond, which is just down the road from Pittsfield, and they have started their own winery where they're going to be growing their own grapes. They have built a new building which to house their wine tastings and whatever it is. We have written a story in Rural Intelligence last year about this, so do go to Rural Intelligence and look up Balderdash Cellars, and you'll find the story pops up. And as I say, I really can confirm that the wines are super. There's some lovely wines that they produce as well. Rich, full-bodied, fruit-forward, so worthwhile checking it out. So it's open doors on Saturday, June the 29th. It starts at 11 o'clock in the morning and will be running till 5 o'clock. And you can get all the details on the Rural Intelligence events section as well, because you'll have to find it one way and another, and it's good to find it through Rural Intelligence.
And we've got a author conversation coming up in Rhinebeck on the 29th at 6 p.m.
Yeah, I spotted this. This is Oblong Books and Music hosting one of their conversations between two authors. And I particularly spotted it because Gary Steinhardt is going to be is one of the people talking. He's going to be talking with Rebecca Godfrey and about a new book that she's just written. It's a crime book called Under the Bridge. It's a really, actually sounds pretty shocking story. It's true. Of a group of teenagers who beat a classmate to death and then tried to cover up the crime. It sounds pretty grim, but I can tell you one thing, that Gary Steinhardt is really one of the most interesting and funniest guys around who looks at the world in a slightly different way. So although I'm sure there will be a lot of serious aspects of the conversation, but it will be a really interesting conversation and really good fun. So that's at Oblong Books and Music on Saturday, June the 29th at 6 o'clock in the evening.
Books. Let's go to Hudson, New York, the Party in the Stacks.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd have to follow it up. Yes, that Saturday night, if you are a supporter of local libraries, one of the ones that has really been very important in the community is the Hudson Area Library. And they are having their big Party in the Stacks, which is their big fundraiser. It's their 60th anniversary of the library's founding this year. They're going to be having a big dinner, which is actually catered by Little Deb's Oasis. And we, as you know, in Rural Intelligence, do a lot of reviews of restaurants. And Little Deb's Oasis is one of the ones we reviewed a couple of years ago when it started. And it's a really fun place in Hudson. And then, so they're going to be catering the dinner. And there's going to be dancing to live music by the fabulous Versatones. So it will be good fun. And there's going to be a big birthday cake and all sorts of fun surprises as well. So that's the Hudson Area Library's Party in the Stacks on Saturday the 29th. It starts at 6 o'clock in the evening.
We will move to Shakespeare and Company, their 2019 gala coming up on the 29th.
Well, yeah, talking about fundraisers, this one looks also very interesting as well, and I'll tell you why. So Shakespeare and Company in Lenox are going to have their 2019 gala on Saturday night. What makes it particularly unusual is that Shakes and Company artists are getting together with the visual effects pioneers Doug and Julia Trumbull for an evening, a tour de force, I suspect, in the theatre. Now, you might say, well, who's Doug Trumbull? Why is he so significant? Well, Doug Trumbull and his wife Julia, they live and work locally in the Berkshires, and Doug is known for directing the special effects on many films, including the special effects for Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Star Trek movies. He did the special effects for 2001: A Space Odyssey. And I think most significantly is because I think it's a spectacular film. He did the special effects for Blade Runner. So his qualifications are absolutely fantastic. He has an amazing studio facility in the Berkshires. So when he gets together with Shakespeare and Company to develop visual effects for Shakespeare and Company plays, it sounds like it's going to be a really interesting evening. So they're going to be doing that at Shakespeare and Company for the fundraiser. It's going to be then followed by cocktails and performances in the Tina Packard Playhouse. Guests, there's going to be a big dinner, catered dinner, and obviously there's going to be lots of dancing, and that will be in Shakespeare's Garden there at Shakespeare and Company's facilities in Lenox. So it's Saturday, June the 29th, starts at 5:30 in the evening, and it's sure to be really very significant. You will obviously have to book up in advance.
Off we go to PS21 on the 29th.
Yes, they're having their opening night review. PS21 is really becoming an important factor in the area. And so their opening night review is they bring in a whole series of the artists who have performed at PS21 over the past 13 years. It will include Jamal Jackson Dance Company, Dance Higginbottom, who I love. A fun dance company. They have the Grammy-nominated violinist and fiddler Jeremy Kittow, and all sorts of other people as well. There's going to be a reception after the show and after the performance, so it will be a really good fun evening in Chatham. It's at PS21. It's at 8 o'clock in the evening, as I say, on Saturday, June the 29th.
And the 29th. In Norfolk, Connecticut on the 29th, Room Full of Teeth at the Norfolk Chamber Music Festival.
Yeah. Well, I told you it was a music week, one way and another, and the Norfolk Chamber Music Festival is having their opening night on Saturday, June the 29th, and they're bringing back in this sort of a Grammy Award-winning vocal ensemble called Room Full of Teeth, and it really is fun. They're more than a cappella group. Because they bring in all sorts of things like Tuvan throat singing, but they also belt out Broadway hits as well. So it's a real mix of things. I'm not sure what they're going to do for the Norfolk Chamber Music Festival, but I can tell you that they are a great fun. Well, I don't know what you call them, cappella group or something like that. Anyway, they are going to be great fun. You can attend the show. Or you can go to a pre-concert dinner, and there's going to be a post-concert reception as well. So that's all down in Norfolk at the Norfolk Chamber Music Festival on Saturday, June the 29th, and it starts at 8 o'clock in the evening.
We'll head over to Spencertown, New York, for an American duo.
Another music, yeah. So Spencertown Academy is really getting very busy this summer, one way and another, and they have this Roots and Shoots concert series, which has been very successful at the Academy. This week they're presenting Kieran Kane and Raina Gallett. And they are two actually solo artists who are joining forces for this evening. And what they're saying they're a new voice in American music. It'll be interesting to see. Their songs are their own compositions generally. They specialize in sort of harmonies, finely tuned harmonies one way and another. But they play all sorts of instruments, guitars, fiddle, banjo, all sorts of other ones as well. So it will be a fun concert, low key. But really enjoyable in Spencertown at the Spencertown Academy on Saturday, June the 29th at 8 o'clock in the evening.
On to Washington, Connecticut, Small Fry.
Yeah, I spotted this, and it's sort of pretty low-key until you actually read the names. So I'm not going to read the names until right at the last minute. So Small Fry is a New York Times and was also in the New Yorker amongst their top 10 books of the year. Is written by Lisa Brennan Jobs, and it's the story of her childhood, which was spent between two sort of, I guess what you could say was imperfect, but sort of, you definitely could say extraordinary homes. And Lisa talks about her parents, sort of very disparate and really fascinating worlds, one way and another. So it's a story of a really complex family. It's also a story about growing up in California in the 1970s and 80s. It really is fascinating. And she's going to be talking about it at the Gun Memorial Library. Now, what makes Lisa Brennan Jobs really interesting and her story absolutely fascinating because of the aspects that she gives? She is the daughter of Steve Jobs. So she's going to be there at the Gun Memorial Library Sunday, June the 30th, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think it will be a fascinating talk and an opportunity to ask some really interesting questions.
And if you've never been to a Maker's Fair, you've got your chance at the Old York Farm on the 30th in Claverick.
Yeah. This looks like a great fun event. It's the first ever Makers Market at the farm. And it's going to be featuring all sorts of food, maize, handmade dumplings are going to be the Bash Bish Honey Company is going to be there. Northern Star Farm is going to be there. Oh, somebody I really love does great custom furniture is JK Custom Furniture and Design. They go to a lot of local fairs and they're really a lovely couple. There's going to be Miracle Spring Goat Cheese, Tree Juice Maple Syrup, Flower Blossom Farm is going to be represented. They're going to have all sorts of other things to try and to taste. It starts at 12 o'clock on Sunday, June the 30th. Will run through 7 o'clock in the evening at the Old York Farm Distillery and Cooperage in Claverack.
And we've got a lamb jam coming up at Indian Line Farm in Egremont, Massachusetts on the 30th.
Yes, sort of growing up in England, of course, I had an unfair advantage on you Americans because we regularly ate lamb either locally from England or Wales or Scotland or from Australia and New Zealand. And so we loved lamb when we were growing up. And I really saw this and thought, well, this is super. So Indian Line Farm in Egremont is having this lamb jam. And it's a dinner, starts at 5 o'clock in the evening and runs through about 8. And the price of admission includes dinner, which of course is grilled lamb. And when it's prepared properly, it's absolutely delicious. And then they're going to have all sorts of various side dishes, and there's going to be salads available and desserts. What happens is you receive a keepsake mug for your entrance price, and you get a drink ticket as well. So you will have that. And of course, you'll be able to buy additional mugs and drink tickets as well. So they're going to have live music from the Lucky Five. And what I thought made this also particularly nice is that it's a zero waste event. So everyone is encouraged to bring their own plates and silverware. But if you don't take them, don't worry. They're going to provide compostable materials so that you can use those as well. So that the whole idea is that it will leave the site clean and environmentally as friendly as possible at the end of the day. So that's on Sunday, June the 30th at Indian Line Farm in Egremont. It starts at 5 o'clock, will run, well, it says 8 o'clock on the notification, but I think it'll run much later than that, one way and another. So it should be a fun evening.
All right, and another packed week here in our area. Mark, we'll check with you again next week.
Lovely. I look forward to it. Thanks very much, Marshall.